Thank you, Julia. Right, welcome back, everybody. You are here for session 3. So as Julia has said, we had some feedback last week. So thank you for those that have provided feedback that the session was too quick and not practical enough, which I did. I knew you were going to say that. Difficulty with the teacher tools is it's a bit of a one-sided tool, and it's difficult to see the concept without pupil engagement. So what we've decided to do is to slow it down a little bit. So today's session, you'll be glad to know, is a lot more practical, and then offer a 4th session. So in today's session, I am going to cover J2Data and also J2Webby, because that was a request. Then in session 4, we're thinking a little bit more around J2E5 and some J2 code. So that is what session 4 will look like later on in the term. So just to go over exactly what I'm going to look at, I'm just going to do a logging in refresher. So you are going to need to log in. Hopefully that will be solid in your practice now. You'll know how to do that, but just for those that might need a little refresher. And then I'm going to do a mixed practical showcase session. So I'm going to show you how to add photos, video, sound as evidence to pupil files, because I know that's been a request. We're going to look at J2Data, so that is going to be quite practical. So chart, branch and database, and we are going to involve JIT mix in that as well. I'm going to showcase to you how to generate QR codes linked to pieces of work, so to cut down on some of your printing costs and printing requirements. And I'm also going to showcase J2Webby at the very end. And as always, I'm going to pinpoint. I'm going to signpost you in the direction of any further training that we've got coming up, contact details. Questions, as always, happily received through the chat. So Julia and Jim are in the background and can answer the majority of your questions. Anything they can't answer, they can relay to me at the end of the session. So quick refresher, if you're logging in, you'll need to go through Glow. So you log into your Glow account, and we are found on your Launchpad, so j2e.com, or you can go via j2e.com and use the RM Unify button. So you will need to log in, because this is going to be a practical session coming up straight away. Right, adding photos to pupil files. We've had this as a request. So there's 2 ways that we can do this. So I'm just going to go for my Launchpad. Now the first way is you can go directly to your pupils file. So we know pupil file, my pupil is in class 1. And for example, I'm taking a photograph of Lottie. So I have these 2 buttons up here in the top right. So if you want to take a photograph in real time, so say you've got an iPad and they're doing something, you can open up the pupil files and you can click this camera icon here and then take a photograph and click OK, and that is going to load. You've also got the video button there as well, so you can record a video instead of taking a photograph. So that's one option. And I will just need to refresh that. So let's go to Lottie. So there's my lovely face in Lottie's account. Alternatively, if it is a pre-taken photo, you have the option to upload. So you can upload, this doesn't have to be photographs, this could be any sort of content, could be a video, could be maybe a piece of work that they've done on another software, for example, maybe a Scratch file, or I'm trying to think what I used to teach with, Kodu, something similar. This is my daughter at nursery, so I can load that from my hard drive and click open. And that now has loaded into her account. Now, don't forget, anything that's added into a pupil file is then visible on the parent portal. So your parents will be able to see anything loaded here. So that is one way of doing it. So that is through the pupil file. So just to refresh, pupil file, you open their file, and then you've got these 2 buttons in the top right hand corner. Now, the other way of doing things is we do have tiles off the Launchpad. So we've got the camera tile, the video tile and the sound tile. Now the video and sound are brand new. They've only just been launched in the last month. And they can be found here. They may well be in a different place. Now, I haven't shown you this, but if you did want to move your tiles around, you can do that very easily. Just tick this unlock box and you can move them around. So maybe if you've got tools that you use more commonly, you can have them at the top there. So you just need to unlock and then lock. But to add a photo, we can open the camera app. There we go, there's my face again. So we could take a photo. And then you've got the option here to save to an account. So we can click that and then we can click whichever student we want to add it to. Now, I know what you're going to say, that you want to send this to multiple students. At the moment, that isn't possible. So we would need to send that. We need to click OK, and then save. So if that had multiple children in it, for example, if it was a photo with multiple children, you would need to then take that photo again. I have already flagged that with the development team. I'm just going to come out of here because I don't quite like seeing my face. I flagged that with the development team, so that is going to be changed. You will be able to send that to multiple students. So it works the same with the sound. So we can take a sound recording. So this is great for capturing audio evidence, maybe a child reading out loud or describing what they've been doing during the activity. So you would hit the record button and then do exactly the same. You can save it to a certain child's file. So that will change soon. I keep nagging them every day. So that is the other alternative. You have these tools within here and you can save it to the pupil files, or you can open up the pupil files and then upload or take a photograph straight into it. So now we're going to do a practical activity. So we're going to have a look at J2Data. And I'm just going to open up J2Data because it's actually 4 tools within J2Data. So J2Data can be found here. Now, 3 of these tools are found in JIT, and then we've also got database. I am going to go through all of these in today's session. I'm just going to showcase pictogram, and then you're going to have a go at chart. I'm going to showcase branch, and then you're going to have a go at database. Okay. So we'll start with pictogram. So pictogram loads like this. You should be familiar with JIT now. It loads up with your template. So there are various common uses of pictograms already preloaded. So things like what the weather is today, how do you get to school? Let's go with fruit. You've also got your blank. So if you did want to create your own, I will show you how to edit this one, but the concept will be the same if you were starting one from blank. So I'm going to open up fruit, and there we go. I'm going to load all our favourite fruits. Now they will load in an uneditable version. So if I wanted to edit that template, I have to tick this box at the bottom, and that's going to give me all these editing options. So I might want to substitute strawberry for something else, or actually let's just add in a new box. So to add in a box, I'm going to press that plus. Obviously to take away, you would use the minus, and that will take away a box. Now we can change the picture on here. Now, if you really wanted to, if you're feeling artistic, you could draw something on there. I'm not particularly artistic, so I'm going to stick to my clip art. And I'm going to add in some cherries, I think. So cherries might be in my food and drink, might not. So let's have a look. No. So I'm going to do my web search. Let's have a look for cherries. I'm just going to do a very slow web search. There we go. So I'm going to choose an appropriate image. This one looks lovely. I'm going to click on it. So that now is going to let me add these cherries. Now you'll see as I hover over sort of that area on the screen, you notice the boxes turn a different colour. So this is really useful because sometimes children, especially the younger children, will struggle to kind of hover that over that red box and click. So as long as they're in the right area above that box, when they click, that will just add that into that box. So they don't need to hover over that. So there we go. I've added my cherries. I'm going to change my label. And there we go. All done. I've changed my template. So now I can take that editing off if I want to, and that just removes all of that bump on the left-hand side. So if I wanted my students to be able to use this, I can either have this as a whole class activity, so I could have them coming up to the board and just clicking what their favourite fruit is and then sitting down. Now, alternatively, if I wanted to share this with my students for them to do as a solo activity, or to transfer data that they've maybe created a tally chart in class and they need to transfer that data, what I would do is I would save this pictogram. So fave fruits in class, for example, and save that. There we go. And then just this little refresher for sharing files. So to share, I would then go to my files. There is that fave fruits pictogram. I would go to that green circle and I would go down to share. And then I can share that with my class or any class within school. So there's my class. So just to give you an idea, this is Lottie. She's in my class. She then goes to her shared files and she goes to list files. And there is that fave fruits in class. So then she could transfer that data. So maybe she says, I've got 3 favourite apples, 4 bananas, oranges are always popular, aren't they? And strawberries. And there we go. Okay, she would be able to edit it by clicking on that, unfortunately, but maybe just don't show them that. And then when she's done, she can click save and that will save that copy into her my files. So remember that saves, the template stays in the shared files, but if she goes to my files, there is that fave fruits that she's just created. And of course, as a teacher, you can still access her content by going to pupil files, find your class. There's Lottie, and there is that fave fruits pictogram. Okay, so that is pictogram. Now you are going to have a go at chart. So chart is here. Again, you can go through JIT or you can click this through J2Data. They both lead to the same place. And this is chart. So it has a very similar look and feel to pictogram. So it keeps that continuity and that familiarity for your students. So you can choose a template already. I'm going to stick with my favourite fruits. You're going to be bored of favourite fruits by the end of today's session. You are more than welcome to choose one of the other templates. I'm going to choose a blank template this time just to show you how easy it is to create a chart. So this is very simple charting. So they would have an item and then a number, and we can change what the title of this column as well. So we could change that to fruit, for example. So let's follow the same concept. So we're going to add apple into the first row and then hit enter, and that's just going to go directly into the next one. Then we can have banana, orange, pear, and straw. You're going to spell something wrong. Strawberry. There we go. So those are our 5 fruits, if I could count. And then you're going to add the numbers here. So they would obviously, they could create a paper tally chart and then transfer the data, or they could just go around and add them in as they sort of go around the class. And then as we add in the numbers, it's going to create that chart for us. Now, other things that we can do, we can change the colour. So for an apple, we might have green. For bananas, it's got to be yellow, hasn't it? Orange is orange. Pear, let's go for maybe brown for pear, and then strawberry's got to be red. And there we go. Okay, so you have some autonomy over being able to change those colours. Then you'll notice on the left-hand side, we've got the different chart types. So we can tick these boxes and that will showcase that chart type on the page. We can tick things on and off, so we can remove that table if we want to, and we can add all of them if we really wanted to. And it just gives the children a really nice visual representation of the data. They can choose their preferred method of showcasing that data in a visual format. Then, same as with all of our other JITs, we've got our save button here, so we can save that as a working file. And then you'll remember with Paint, we've also got our, it's the same as Paint, we've got the save as image. So that's great if you want to use this image in anything else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a few minutes just to have a play around with chart, just to see how easy it is to create. If there are any questions, pop them in the chat, and I'm sure Julia or Jim can either answer it or ask me to showcase anything further. So I will give you 2 or 3 minutes, not long, but go and have a play. Right. What I'm going to encourage you to do, because we're actually going to use this chart within a mix document, I would like you to choose your favourite chart type. So the chart type that showcases that data in the best way. I personally like the bar chart. It's entirely up to you. And the reason I like the bar chart is because we can see the numbers along the left-hand side. So then you're going to switch off the other chart types. So I would like you to, now it's optional, you can leave the chart on, the table on, or you can turn it off if you want to. But I would recommend that you have your table and then one chart type. And then once you've done that, I would like you to rename your file. And you're going to make sure that you save. It's quite important that you save this. And you'll know that you've saved because your save button will grey out. Again, a great little bit of feedback for your students because they know that they've saved their work. Okay.
Nikki, a question in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
When you're uploading a picture, can you add audio on top of that?
Uploading a picture in Paint? Yes, you can. So any of the JIT tools, you can record audio at the top. So you could, if you wanted to, in its most basic form, you could keep this as a chart, for example, and you could use the audio to describe what the data shows. So you could, for example, let's do it in real time. This chart shows that the most favourite fruit in class is the strawberry, and the least favourite fruit is pear. And there we go. So that will now link to that piece of work. So that is the case for all of the JIT tools, Write, Paint, all of them. You can record that supporting audio. So it's another great way of capturing evidence with your students. And you'll notice because I've added that audio at the top of my page, it's offering me the option to save now. So that will now save as the most recent version of that file with the audio linked. So just to show you what that looks like. There is the fave fruits. There is the sound. Now it looks like it saves a version separately. So you do, this chart shows that the most have that sound separately, but when I open up that fave fruits, it will still be at the top. So you do have both versions. Okay. Right, we are going to move along. So please make sure that you've saved your chart, otherwise this next bit won't work. So we're going to have a look at mix now. So mix is a great way of sort of developing skills. I would certainly think this is more a kind of end of P3 and above tool at this point. So I'm going to open up Mix, and just to explain Mix, it's an ebook creator. But what you can do is you can use any of the tools within JIT, so Write, Paint, Turtle, Chart, Pictogram, Animate, Branch, and you can have a page for whichever tool it is that you want to use. So this will make more sense in a second. So the first thing you need to do is choose which page layout you would like. So you'll notice there's 4 different page layouts. So there's 2 where you can add writing along the side. There's 1 page layout where it's just the tool. And then this one has 4 tools laid out. So we're going to choose one of these writing page layouts because what we want to do is we want to add our chart and then we want to add some text that analyzes that chart. So obviously part of your data logging and your statistics is all around collecting data, but the other side of it is actually analyzing and demonstrating understanding about what does that data show. You know, it's all well and good, you know, creating a chart, but you need to capture evidence that the child knows what that data is showing. And that's how we're going to do it. So I've chosen my page layout, and then I need to choose my tool. So you'll notice these 2 arrows. So this color in the middle correlates to paint. So it's the same color. So if I want a chart page, I need to use these arrows until I find an orange page. Okay, so I'll show you on this layout. It's quite difficult to describe to people sometimes in training. So I choose my page layout and then I choose my tool. So there we go. So if you wanted to choose a pictogram, for example, you would make sure it's red. If you wanted an animation, you make sure it's pink. So we want the chart. And then you're going to hit tick. And that has now added a chart page for me. Okay. So at this point, we could do the data straight into this. And certainly for your older students that are used to using chart, you could do this. But we've already created our chart and we can load that from this button here. So I'm just going to zoom in just so you can see at the top of your mix page, you've got this little green button here. So I'm going to press that and that is going to open up all of the charts that you have in JITmix. So because we've chosen a chart page, it will only show me charts. Obviously, if you wanted a painting, you would need to add a paint page. If you wanted to showcase a branching database, you would need to load a branching database page. So that is a common question I get asked, you know, why is my painting not showing? It's because you haven't chosen the correct page type. So I'm going to click my fave fruits and there we go, that has loaded now on that page. So just to show you that again, just to make sure everyone has got that, I've chosen my chart page and I've done that by using these arrows so that I've got an orange page and I'm going to hit the tick. That's going to load up a chart page and you can load your chart that you've just created by pressing this little green folder button at the top of your page, and then you can click on your chart that you've just created. Now, as I said, the reason I'm showcasing this is because it's a fantastic way of capturing evidence of students analysing the data that they've collected. So when we click on these text boxes, we've got all the functionality that we had in JIT Write. So we can say the data shows that the most popular fruit in class is the strawberry. Okay, so we can highlight that, make it smaller. I don't know why it's not going smaller, but it's not. There we go. And they can add as much text as they want, so that will sort of scroll down as they add more text. So you could have this maybe as like a half terms ebook if maybe they were looking at different data, different chart types. You could even base it around a theme. So if you're doing thematic planning, it may be that you're doing, I don't know, a writing document around food or a poem about, I don't know, autumn and harvest, and then a painting and an animation. So each session or each week you could add a different page and add a different tool. The other thing that you can do, I'm just going to showcase this. This is a nice page format. I'm thinking particular for teachers of younger students. So you can collect, let's have them all as paintings. There we go. So you can have 4 different squares showing 4 different things. So I've chosen 4 paintings, but it might be, I don't know, writing, a painting, a turtle, for example. Now, if I go to load at the top of this button, you'll notice I also have a pupil files tab. So you can create ebooks for your whole class. So for example, maybe they've all done a lovely painting on, let's see, these are actual, these are teacher created content because I shared my pupil accounts with some teachers. So I'm hoping there's nothing inappropriate in there. I haven't checked. So there we go. So I can go to my pupil files and load all my pupil content on the same page. And then I would save that the same as I do with any other JIT activity. So that will save into my files. So your students could come back to this session after session, add in more content, and they could have, you know, an ebook with 10 different pages on it. So there you go. So that is J2Data, and then just adding that into JITmix. So this is more of a sort of I'm not au fait with the Scottish curriculum too well, but I think that's a P2, P3 activity, then moving more into sort of P3, P4 activity. Okay. And then this links in nicely to generating QR codes linked to work. So depending on your school, there may be requirements for printing out content. So I don't know how your school works in terms of evidencing. So this might be a solution for you. We can generate QR codes that link to any piece of work that you or a student has created. Now that's done through your My Files area. So I'm just going to open that up. I'm going to close some of these screens down just so there we go. So done through your My Files. And here we go. So maybe I want to link to this mixed document. So this is a multi-page document. If I was to print this out, I'd have to go through each page, press print, each page, press print again and again. But what I could do instead, I could go to my little green circle with the white eye, and you'll notice I've got QR code here. So I'm going to open that up. And that is a scannable QR code. So I can use any sort of device that has a camera and an internet connection. I can scan that. Now, as it stands at the moment, it would need a J2E login or your Glow login to access that. So that would need a login within your school. So that would need to be a teacher or a pupil account. What you can do is you can press this publish button. Now, that doesn't publish it anywhere. What it does do is it removes the requirement to have a J2E account to view it. So I can scan that. I'm not just holding my phone. I can scan that, and that will then, it doesn't show very well on a phone, but there you go. I've got my mixed document showing, and the pages, she says, well, it's not doing it very well because it's on a phone. I can turn the pages. So there we go. Okay, so that's a great way of having something printed out but retaining the content. So if you think about some of the JIT stuff, we've got animate, you can't print that out. You've got the sound recording function, you can't print that out. But if you were to print that QR code, you would then retain that movement or those sounds in any of their content that they've created. And of course that works as well in the pupil files. So I can go to pupil files. And for example, maybe Lottie, let's see if Lottie has an animation. I'm going to no and go to videos. Nope. Let's go to JIT and see if here we go. So this is an animation. So I couldn't print this out because I would lose the content. So what I could then do instead is I can go to that little green circle, go to the QR code, and then if you want to retain that kind of requirement to have a J2E account login, you would leave that. But if you don't, click publish, and that now you can scan that with a device and that will link directly to that animation. So that's great if you've got maybe inspectors coming in doing a deep dive on a certain subject such as ICT. Or even for digital display boards, if you wanted, you could print these out and have them on your display boards around the class so people could scan them and see the animations that kids have created. You could record a sound using the sound button. So we've had some fantastic people, fantastic teachers having an interactive display board where the children can scan it and they can listen to a part of a story. So those are just some nice ideas for what you could use that for. Okay, right, we're going to look at branch. So this is all about branching databases. It's all around classifying data. Now in the English curriculum it is year 4 maths, and I think it then features again in year 5 or year 6 science. So I presume it would be fairly similar. And this is just an idea. I'm not going to create something as complex as this with you now, so you will have a go at this, but this is just an activity idea. So this is getting the kids to create a guess who. So they have dragged in pictures of people, and then they have used questions to classify that person. So we'll go to play. So I'm going to choose a person. So let's go for this lovely lady here. So does she wear glasses? No. Are they a woman? Yes. Are they wearing earrings? Now that picture's quite small, but I'm thinking that's a no. Are they wearing a hat? Yes. Is that the correct answer? Yes. So that's just a nice fun activity to kind of teach them the concept of branching databases. But we're going to create something much, much simpler. Okay, so we are going to open up JIT branch. So you can either find that through JIT or through J2Data. I'm going to open JIT, and then it is this purple tab in the top right. Now you can choose a background for JIT branch. I personally find it's better to have a blank background. It's personal preference more than anything. I just find that sometimes it can get a bit busy on screen. I've sort of got my SEND teacher hat on there. I like it to be simple and clear about what I want them to do. So I'm going to choose a blank background. You are more than welcome to choose a different background. And then I'm going to classify four pieces of animal data. So I'm going to drag 4 animals in, and then we're going to use a few questions just to sort that data. So to add items onto your tree, so your branch tree, you're going to open up your clip art library, and then you're just going to click anything that you want to add into your branch, into your tree. So I'm going to choose a few very different animals. There we go. And there we go. Okay. Now, if you add something by mistake, you can hover over that and you'll get that little bin appear. Click that and it will take that out of that tree. So I would like you to open a branch and you want to add 4 pieces of data. So it doesn't have to be animals. You can use any of these clip art libraries. You've also got the option up here to do a web search. You've also got the option to add words. Now, I would struggle to think of a context to use or an activity to use that in, but feel free to add words if you want to add words instead. I find it easiest to have the clip art libraries personally. Now, thinking back to the Guess Who activity, you've also got the camera at the top. So you could do a real life class Guess Who. So you could get them to take photos of each other and then classify each other as your own sort of live Guess Who game. Right, once you've added your data, and I wouldn't recommend at this point, because it is a very quick activity, adding more than like 4 or 6 at a push. You can add, I think it's up to 15 or 20 pieces of data into this, so it can become humongous. So just be mindful. And then we are going to click sort, and we're going to use a question. So we're going to say, can I fly? And if it can, we're going to drag it over here onto the true side. And if it can't, we're going to drag it onto the false side. And there we go. Now you can record audio linked to that. So if you wanted to extend that activity, you get students to record that sentence, or that question, should I say. And then you're going to click OK. And you're going to follow the same process. So we're going to say, do I live in the sea? So I'm going to drag the ones that it's true to the left-hand side and the ones that it's false to the right-hand side. And we're going to click OK. And then we're going to say, do I stink? True, false. And then we're going to click OK. And that now has built that tree for us. So you can see, can I fly? Do I live in the sea? Do I sting? Are our 4 or 3 sorting questions. So then the only thing they have to do is click play, and they can test that. So they can choose something. So for example, choose the orca, and then Can I fly? Nope. Do I live in the sea? Yes. Do I sting? Nope. Is that the right one? Now, you can have them expand this tree. So you could have them think of any animal. So maybe I was thinking about a shark. So is this animal correct? Is this answer correct? I'm going to say no. Do you want to add a new item? Yes. So let's see if we can find I don't know if we've got a shark actually. Oh, we haven't. So I'm going to do a web search for a shark. Ooh. There we go. Add in our shark and click OK. And then we could say, I don't want to say, do I eat people? But that is what I'm thinking. I didn't think this one through, did I? Do I live in, and what is a collective of whales?
School.
Thank you very much. Because sharks are solitary, aren't they? I'm trying to think back to my GCSE biology. There we go. That'll do. Sorry if I'm offending anyone that I haven't got that correct, but there we go. So I've added that extra piece of data in now. So that is branching database. So just have a little play around. If you are working in the upper end of the school, these are P6, P7, and you want to make that a little bit more tricky. So say this is taught in P5, for example, you want to revisit it and make it a little bit more difficult. You do have the option to use advanced instead. Now, advanced, I haven't done this very well. Advanced allows you to, let me start a new one. That's fine. Let's close this. There we go. Advanced allows you to add a title and a description. So this expands it a bit more into sort of a top trumps activity. So you could then get them to research facts about that certain animal, that creature, that dinosaur, that, I don't know, flag, population, whatever it is you want to classify. And you could get them to add that information into the description that they then use to create the questions. So, for example, this country has a population over 1 million. That sort of thing. So you can make this as difficult as you want to. Okay. Right. We're going to move along if that is okay with everyone. And we're going to move along to database. So this is very much P4 and above now. And database is a great way of creating collaborative databases and also manipulating existing databases. So I've given you 2 examples here, just so you've got a context. I am then going to get you to create your own database shortly. So just to give you an idea, this is a very simple database. So I aimed this towards P4, P5. And it is, again, I told you you'd be sick of fruit by the end of this session. It is collecting data on our class's favourite fruit. So all I've done is I have created a collaborative database with the name of the pupil and their favourite fruit. I mean, you wouldn't even, you might even get away without having the name. You could have just asked for favourite fruit. And I've shared that with my students and they have logged in and they have recorded their favourite fruit. So I have 34 records now with them listing their names and their favourite fruits. Then database will allow me to show that in a table format so I can see all of the records there side by side. And I can also create a chart using that data. So I can have a look at, let's just have a look at the favourite fruit. And that is showing me that data in a much more useful format than the table. So I can see straight away, oranges are by far the most popular. Kiwis, no, cherries are the least popular. So you can see it's interactive as well. So when I hover over, it's going to give me those numbers. I've got my different chart types here, same as we did with JIT chart. So some of the chart types will look better than others depending on the data. So pie chart, fantastic for showcasing this kind of data. We've got bar chart and then a sideways bar chart. You can also make them 3D, so they look a little bit more professional, and you can stack them if you wanted to, if you were correlating different types of data. You've also down the left-hand side, you've got things like colours, so you can change the colours. You can save that as an image, so that can be used in tools such as J2E5. You can save that chart, and you can also have a look at charts that you've already created. So that's just a simple version of using database. This is much more advanced. However, it has a real life context. So quite often that is a very useful teaching tool in itself if you're using something that is real. So this is the Titanic passenger list. It has over 1,300 records in it. And the way I would teach it with my students is I would say, right, well, can you find me how many children were on board, for example? And of course, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to go through the records, looking at the ages, and that is going to take them forever. So then you would say, right, well, we can look at it in a table. Is this helping? So it is, because we can sort this column here to show us the ages from the youngest. I mean, that's a bit sad, isn't it? From the youngest right up to the oldest. That still is going to take them a long time to count how many children there are. So that's when you would introduce the chart option. So at this point, no, the table. Let's go to the table. We can do a single field search. So we can search here, and we can actually expand that a little bit. So we could say, we want to search for the ages of those that are equal to, now I can never remember which way this is, equal to or, let's try this, less than, and we're going to say under 18. That was wrong. It's the other one. There we go. And that now has streamlined that to 230 records. Okay. So we can get rid of that search now. And the other thing we can do is we can tally different types of data now. So I might want to have a think about, I might want to see the classes, and I might want to chart that against how many in the first class survived versus how many in the third class survived, for example. So let's have a look at survivor or victim. So we had far more that, and let's just get rid of this search up here. There we go. Far more survived than didn't, unfortunately. Far less survived than didn't. We could group that according to class. And there we go. We've got an instantaneous visual representation. And we can see that actually there's a huge disparity between the amount of first class passengers that survived versus the third class, or the second class, should I say. And we can look at that in different formats as well. So we've got our pie chart, and there we go. And as I said, it's interactive. So as we hover over, we can see the numbers and do all the things that we did with the other chart that we looked at. Now this is one of the examples, so we do have various examples within the examples tab. So we also have dinosaurs, there's a toy shop activity, mini beasts. This is a nice one to introduce students that younger into sort of databases. Countries, so there are lots of pre-made databases ready for you to use, so please have a look at those. But we are going to have a little go at creating your own database. So I'm going to show this to you, and then I'm going to let you have a little go. So this can be done by opening up a database. Now, database is within J2Data, and there it is. And it opens up like this. So you've got this nice blank database, and we have these field names. So I'm going to create a database just collecting pupil information. So for example, I might want to say name, and then as soon as I hit enter, I can add a new field. So I might say age, enter, I'm going to add in another field, foot size, and then favorite, let's go favorite food this time because I'm bored of fruit now. So we've got our 4 fields. You can add as many as you want. We've got our types. So name, we're going to leave that as text. Age is going to be a number. So if I hit this double arrow button here, I've got different options. So I can make that a number. And I can also add units if I wanted to. I can add units. I don't know why that's doing that. There we go. Years. Foot size, again, that's going to be a number. And then favorite food, I want that to be out of a list. I don't want them to just add different things. So I'm going to add, so now I've got my list here. So I can add, I mean, always one of them, isn't it? Pizza, lasagna, curry, chips, all the healthy things. Let's go for fruit, just so we've got some sort of healthiness in there. And actually, I might want to add height. So I'm going to add height. So I've just hit enter on that last field name. Height, that's going to be a number as well. And I'm going to add my unit, so that's going to be centimetres. So there we go. I've got my database. Now I might want to reorder some of these. I think I might want height under age. So I'm going to just use these arrows on the left-hand side, and I can move those around. So there we go. So for my pupils to be able to access this, I need to save it. So I'm going to have pupil info. Click OK. So that now has frozen. Bear with me. Yes, let's reload. Let's see if that did save. No, it didn't save. However, we'll go with this one. So this is one I made earlier. So you would save it. It's slightly different, sorry. I could redefine this. So let's change this. Let's go height. Number, centimetres. Let's add that fave food. And I've got my list. Fruit, chips, pizza, choc. There we go. And that, I'm going to save that again and hope it doesn't freeze this time. It hasn't frozen this time. So I've saved that into my files. So if I wanted to share with my students, excuse my teenager. If I want to share with my students, I can click within the database itself, or I can do this via my files. So I could go to the green eye and go to share there as well. It opens up the same area. And then I share with my class. In fact, I'm going to remove this and just show you. So I use that drop down menu, share with my class or whichever students I want. Now, if I want them to be able to enter any data into this collaborative database, I need to make sure that box is ticked. Otherwise, they'll just be able to view the data. They won't be able to add into it. And you can also lock into contributor mode by ticking that. So that means they can now only see this form and they can see this version. So they can add data, but they can't delete it. So there we go. So just to show you my student account, so you can have a go. If you want to see what it looks like from a pupil perspective, I'm going to go to shared files. There is the pupil data. So they can add another record. So we could say, I mean, this is Lottie again. She's a foot size 2, number of siblings 1, height 120 centimeters. That's not very high, is it? And then let's say pizza. And then she saves that data. So that record is now saved into that table. And there we go. So we've got different variations, and they can then use that data as more and more added data into that. You would then be able to see the table and create charts. So I'm going to give you a minute or two just to have a go at creating your database. If you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat. The main problems that people will have, you sometimes get questions through the support desk saying my pupils can't input any data into a collaborative database. That will have to do with this, this ticking the edit box here. If you leave that unticked, so if I untick that just to show you and refresh this page for Lottie, you can see that removes those editing permissions here. So she won't be able to add anything. So that is the main question that we get. Just going to give you another minute and then we will move on. Okay, so I'm going to move on to just a quick showcase of Webby. Now I know I actually had a request for J2Webby and J2Bloggy. Now the difficulty with Bloggy is it's quite a niche tool. It's definitely a P7 tool, and I think showcasing it in a wider group would make it a bit sort of it wouldn't be particularly inclusive for those teaching younger students. So I am more than happy to offer a J2Bloggy session to anybody that wants to see that on a one-to-one or a smaller group basis. But Webby is a lovely tool because it allows you to blog. So Bloggy is all about creating websites. Webby is all about creating blogs. They're both very badly named and they will be renamed soon. Same as J2E5, awful names. We're just waiting for the branding. So Webby is a pre-made blogging site within your site. Now, any teacher can push content up to your blog, and that can be done through any of the tools. So I'm just going to find some content in my My Files. So actually, this one's quite a good one. So if I open this up, this is a J2E5 file. And you'll notice this button here. Now this button will feature in the majority of our tools, and you can click that and that will ask you where you would like to publish it. So as a teacher, you have the option to send anything to any blog. So it's great, maybe if you're SLT, you can send it to all pupils or all staff. I'm going to click class 1 and I'm going to publish to J2Webby. And that will immediately publish. So just to show you J2Webby, it is here. And this is what it looks like. So it'll open up on your class landing page. And then your blogs will be listed as you hover over blogs. There are your classes. Now you'll notice in mine, there's no class 3 and there's no class 6. The blogs are created when a pupil pushes content. So if your class is not showing in that blog, it may well be if this is the first time you've looked at Webby, there may be no blogs, or there may just be a staff blog. So you just need to, not literally, but just grab the nearest pupil, get them to press publish, and that will auto generate that class blog. So this is my class, class 1, and there is that body parts activity that I have just pushed for publication. So I can view that post. These are the parts of the body. It will retain any audio or video or animation in there. So if you've got a J2E5 file with embedded YouTube videos, they will still work. Now, if a pupil pushes content, so I'm in my pupil files now, so let's send this B animation, for example. So I can open that up and I've got that publish. And that will then just say it needs to be approved by a teacher. So you have that safety net that nothing inappropriate is going to land on your Webby. Now that will go to the moderate tab. So you see I've got 23 outstanding pieces of work that have been submitted. So I can click on that. And I've got my blog name. So I'll go class 1. And it's right at the bottom. So I need to authorize all these. But there's my B animation. I can preview that and see what it looks like. So it will, as I said, showcase anything that actually should move or sound. If I'm happy with it, I publish it. If I don't like it, if it's not good enough, I can bin that submission. It just bins the submission to the website, not the actual file itself. So if I publish that now, and I can go to view posts, there is that B animation on my blog site. Now, parents do have access to this through the parent portal. So just be mindful and tie that in with your photo permissions. Make sure that you're not authorizing any pictures of students that don't have that photo permission. So teachers can push content immediately and all teachers can moderate pupil content. Pupils can submit content, but it needs to be moderated by a teacher. And then parents can see any moderated content. And it's a great way of having a sort of digital display board for your class. I would use it for best pieces of work in my class. And there we go. It is 5 o'clock on the dot. So as always, I'm going to ask for some feedback. I would love to have feedback. It was useful from last session to be able to sort of see how people felt about the session. So the more feedback that I get, the better the training can be for the next session. So hopefully I have slowed it down enough and given you enough practical time for it to be more useful than the previous session. But please feel free to scan this. It is the same link as the last session. And then finally, we've also got the training sessions. So you can find these at Just2Easy/training, as always. And these are our links to social medias. So hopefully you found this interesting and useful. If you have any questions, please pop them in the chat. I'm more than happy to hang around for the next few minutes just answering questions. If not, thank you for attending and we will see you for the next one.
Thanks very much, Nikki, again for a great session. So we have got a session 4. I'll just add you all to the meeting. That's going to be on the 31st of October, I think. But again, you know, you can feel free to accept it if you're able to and decline it if you're not able to. But it makes sense for me just to send out to everybody that is here. There were a couple of questions in the chat. I've got to go back through to find them again. So Fiona, she was trying to see her class on the data bit. She couldn't see her class in order to share it, but she can see her class fine when she's in JIT. It's just in the database. Are you able just to go over how to find that again in data, or?
Was that an example by any chance? Was she in oh no, that shouldn't affect it. So that's interesting. So if you're in a database, you should be able to click that share and then use the drop down menu and you should see your classes there. So it's interesting that it's not there.
Okay, so that's one we might have to investigate a little bit further.
I think so. If she drops her Glow login details, I can get someone to explore that a little bit.
Perfect. Okay, so
Right.
Fiona, hopefully you're still on the call, and you can just send us a wee email or something, and we'll try and get that sorted out for you. Miss Mackey has asked about the parent portal. Do the parents get a notification if the child uploads a file?
No, the parents only get notifications when they receive a message from the teacher.
Okay, dokes.
Would that be useful if they got a message?
I think it probably would be, actually, just from my own experience. I think it would be nice to get a little notification through. You'd be all excited, your child's posted something, and you go in and have a little look at it, and then that can start learning conversations when your child gets home.
Yeah.
Rather than having to try and remember to go in and check it.
That's great feedback. Yeah, anything like that, we are keen. We have a very small development team. There's only 5 of them, and they are very proactive. So anything that we hear from schools that they say, do you know what, it'd be really useful if we could do that. If you just mention it to us, generally we can get it put into practice.
Cool.
It might take a little while, but it will eventually appear. So I'll let them know that might be useful. So
perfect. I mean, that was my own opinion, but maybe others agree with that. I don't know.
I think we could switch on or off, you know, and have the choice.
Yeah,
then,
yeah. We would love for notifications to be sent if the child posts work. It gives the parents a nudge to look. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've noted it down. I'll let them know.
Perfect. So thanks very much, everybody. Again, we will pop the recording. I'll get uploaded to YouTube tonight, and then I'll pop the link to that into our Just2Easy team on Glow, so you'll be able to access it again there if you need to. Again, any questions and stuff can just go in the team as well, and I'll send out a meeting invite for session 4. And remember, you've got your privacy notice coming later this week, which is to be sent home to parents, but they don't need to sign anything. It's just they've got to have it. Okay. Stop that recording.